Most people treat fire as a convenience, a lighter in a pocket, a stove that works when turned. In modern memory, fire is reduced to comfort, warmth, cooking, perhaps morale around a camp. But across most of human history, and especially in wartime, the ability to create fire from raw materials was not comfort, it was continuity. It was the dividing line between a unit that could endure and one that quietly dissolved. Armies have collapsed not only from enemy action but from cold camps, wet powder, unboiled water, and the slow erosion of physical strength when heat could not be sustained. Fire was infrastructure long before industrial infrastructure existed. And, what is often overlooked in discussions of military logistics or survival doctrine is that primitive fire-starting methods, bow drills, flint and steel, tinder preparation, remained relevant far longer than we assume. Even into the 20th century, soldiers and civilians rediscovered that when supply chains fracture, the primitive becomes essential. If we want to understand sustained survival across eras, we have to begin with a simple truth. Mastery of fire-making was not a skill of the distant past. It was an insurance policy against systemic failure. The overlooked point is that pre-industrial armies were survival systems as much as fighting forces. Fire-making knowledge was embedded in their structure. By the First World War, industrialization had transformed warfare, yet trench conditions reintroduced ancient problems. Constant rain and mud made matches unreliable. Soldiers improvised, sheltering sparks under helmets or inside coats. Fire was needed to dry socks, heat rations, and prevent trench foot from worsening. Even with industrial supply, units at the line often relied on improvised methods. In conflicts such as the Vietnam War, fire posed a different problem. It was necessary, but it was also visible. Smoke could reveal position. Guerrilla forces refined low-smoke ignition techniques using dry bamboo, carefully selected hardwoods, and concealed pits to reduce detection. The challenge was not merely to create flame, but to control its signature. This is an area where primitive knowledge intersected with modern tactical necessity. A lighter produces flame, but it does not eliminate smoke. Understanding fuel composition and airflow does. Fire discipline became part of operational security. For survivalists and historians alike, this underscores a broader principle. Skill is not obsolete because tools exist. Tools simplify steps, but they do not replace understanding. When visibility, weather, or resupply becomes constrained, knowledge regains primacy. Fire-making competence influenced doctrine more than most after-action reports admit. Military manuals throughout the 20th century increasingly incorporated survival training. The experience of isolated units, whether Arctic patrols, jungle reconnaissance teams, or resistance cells, demonstrated that self-sufficiency was not optional. Cold weather warfare schools in multiple countries institutionalized firecraft as a core skill. Soldiers learned to construct raised platforms to keep flames off snow, to use resinous wood for rapid ignition, and to preserve dry tinder in waterproof containers. These were not romantic skills. They were responses to documented operational failures. After Korea and later conflicts in mountainous Afghanistan, Western militaries revisited small unit survival doctrine. The lesson repeated itself. Technology cannot eliminate environmental exposure. Fire remains central to water safety, calorie extraction, and psychological resilience. This continuity across eras reveals something deeper. Civilizations advance, but biology does not. Human bodies still require warmth, safe hydration, and cooked food. Primitive fire starting is not nostalgia. It is alignment with physical reality. What sustained survival teaches us about preparedness in any era is, well, quite revealing. Across wars and frontiers, the pattern is consistent. When systems are stable, ignition is trivial. When systems fracture, through weather, conflict, or logistical breakdown, fire-making becomes a decisive competence. The master key is not the specific tool, It is the layered approach, multiple ignition methods, environmental awareness, and practiced technique. Flint and steel function without fuel cartridges. Friction methods require only natural materials. Modern ferrocerium rods combine simplicity with durability. Each reflects an evolution of the same principle, reliability through minimal dependency. History does not romanticize these skills. It records the cost of lacking them. Armies that underestimated cold, moisture, and supply fragility paid in diminished effectiveness long before defeat appeared in official communiqué. For the serious student of history, this is not a survivalist slogan. It is a recurring theme embedded in campaign journals, logistical reports, and personal letters. Fire-sustained armies, settlements, and resistance movements. Its absence accelerated collapse. Remembering this matters because modern societies often mistake convenience for permanence. The ability to generate heat from raw materials is not regression. It is continuity with the baseline conditions under which humans have always operated. Primitive fire starting endures because the environment has not changed. Only our assumptions have. If you value examining the overlooked foundations of survival and warfare, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this video. The deeper we study these quiet, persistent skills, the better we understand how civilizations endure and why some do not.